Okay, so everybody, we're recording now. This is a session that I hope that can impact our lives. On today's call, I've got one of my great friends whom I admire a lot and who has done great stuff with their career and like me too, a new immigrant to Canada and has built their life here and building their future here. You know, one of the things I've always done in this shows is always talk about beliefs, mindset, setting good goals, building great connections and relationships as you go on that path, staying resilient. And I know in most of these videos, I share my stories or my perspective, but today we have a wonderful guest speaker, Jahangir. A little backstory. I was roommates with Jahangir back in the university. We had this close connection in as part of living together, and I got to know him and see his passion for what he does, his insatiable curiosity to learn about the world around him, but also his dedication to give back, to share his own knowledge, and his willingness to do that. And we're gonna get to know him in this conversation. So stay tuned, and I'm excited to kick it off. All right, Jahangir, welcome to the show. How are you doing today, sir?
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I hope you are too.
I am. Yes, it's a great day to be alive and to serve others and to give them some values. So we're going to take it away. We're going to go straight into the questions, the juicy parts of it. But before we start, this juicy story, I want to touch on your personal story. Can you tell us a bit about your background and your experiences coming from your home country to Canada? How has it shaped your journey, your personal growth, and your professional success?
I moved to Canada in 2016. I was very young. I was just turning 17. So I came here to study. I came from a country called Azerbaijan. It's a small country between Russia and Iran, pretty far away from Canada. And it's been a pretty long journey, even though, I mean, it's been what, 8 years now, I think. So it feels like an eternity at this point. And it feels like my life in Azerbaijan was in my past life completely different mindset, different thinking. Everything was different. So I would say it's just a different person that came here. But in terms of what changed was me coming here when I was so young, like 17, it really forced me to grow up really fast and kind of face responsibility of life, especially in a different country with different culture, different language, and everything is different. So it forced me to adapt and grow up, figure out what it means to live by yourself, to take care of yourself, to solve your problems as well. Because at that age, I was used to my parents taking care of the problems I had back home and just doing what I'm told. There's like a predetermined path, go to school, graduate, apply to university, almost like a template. And then once you move, you're hit with the reality that there's no template, a prescripted path to life, and you kind of have to figure it out. I was studying computer science at McGill University. I graduated and then started working in the game industry for a while as a software developer, and then I decided to transition to product management, and I've been doing that since.
I appreciate you saying that. One of the reasons why we I want to start with getting to know you is your story is a combination of all of the activities that you had in Azerbaijan, but also the new elements you've added on. Some of our viewers are either new immigrants or they've been here for a bit, but when they can hear that story, they're able to connect with it. And I resonate with it a lot, being able to build your life from here, from scratch, realizing nobody gives you a document of life. And it's bringing me to this other question. You studied computer science, you came here at 17, you did all this by yourself. Can you share the moment when you realized that your mindset was critical to surviving, thriving, and succeeding here?
If I were to pinpoint the time, it was when we lived together, somewhere around that time. I remember when I just came here, I had a lot of insecurities about my language abilities. I would be embarrassed sometimes to speak, scared to make a mistake. And even when I was in lectures, if I have a question I didn't understand, I would be scared to raise my hand and ask, scared of others' perception of how it might look. Oh, like this guy doesn't understand. So it was a slow process. It built up to a certain point when there was this conscious realization I need to change how I think. And I realized that back in Azerbaijan, I had a certain perception of myself with relations to other people. And when I came here, I realized, well, I'm starting from scratch. These people don't know me. These people don't have any expectations of me. It's just my own expectations of myself. And while trying to go for academic excellence and then trying to find internships, I realized it's all about me and my action. So I'm not captive, a prisoner of whatever I was before. I can choose a path and I can build and shape this person that I want to be. And it have started from there, where I was like, okay, well, I know I have all of these flaws and insecurities. And before that realization, I thought that this defines me. Like, hey, I'm not a good public speaker, or I'm not good in social circumstances. And then I realized, sure, but what do I need to get where I want to be? And then it started from there. I realized, well, I should expose myself more to stuff I'm scared of, right? So public speaking. I started taking on more presentations and classes, trying to speak, raise my hand, regardless of how I looked. And I saw that with these small things, it helped others as well in a way that, for example, when you have a question, and I felt hesitant, especially in big auditorium, like 200 people, I would raise my hand. And then as I ask a question, I see that others started taking notes, or others would also start asking questions. And it felt good realizing that I'm the only one who doesn't understand, that there's a lot of people who are in the same boat who are just too scared to ask a question because of how others might perceive them. After that, I started identifying things I need to improve in myself that I still do today. What do I need to do to become a person, a character that I want to become? What flaws I need to address, what insecurities I need to address, and that kind of started the whole thing.
I love that you pointed out that the person you were before in Azerbaijan is, when you come here with thinking that you're the same, it actually did hold you back. But when you realize that, no, I'm in a new place, and as a result of that, I could create something new. And I resonate with that 100%. And if you're watching today and you're like sitting in a place and you're like, I'm coming from this country and, I can't fit in. This is a new slate. You're in a new environment that gives you huge advantages. You can take the risk because nobody knows you. That's a benefit. I when I came in, I was stuck with the behaviors I came with in the past, and I was trying to live that life of who I was in my home country, Nigeria. But when I started tweaking it and realizing this is a blank slate, nobody knows me here, this is the moment I began to take more risk, as you did in class, and I love that you were able to do that and lead others by example. So I'm going to dial it down into this first theme of our conversation, which is mindset mastery and overcoming challenges. Obviously, we all that come into this new country will have unique sets of challenges depending on where you are, where you're coming from, and what your goals are. My question is this: did you ever come across any beliefs, anything you used to believe before, that you came to North America and you realize, oh no, if I keep believing this, it's going to hold me back?
So there are a couple of things. I guess one interesting example is back home, you have, I guess, any kind of opinion or anything you do is rooted in some sort of beliefs. For me, was when I was back home, I would try to follow a certain path. You have to be a certain way. There are huge societal roles within the society back there where you have to, go to school, then you go to do your bachelor's, then you do your master's, and then start working essentially. So it's an expected thing. Once you graduate from your bachelor degree, you need to go and do like graduate studies, master's or PhD or whatever. And I realized that these paths don't necessarily work here, because what I saw is you don't necessarily need to have a master's degree or PhD or whatever to actually earn a good income. And the way I understood this was through exposing myself more to culture here, right? Trying to find internships, work, talk to people who were working as well. And it was a hard decision for me to not pursue a master's degree right after bachelor's. And it was also a difficult conversation with my parents because it's hard for them to understand, right? For them, it was like the thing you're supposed to do. So that was like one of the things that stands out, I guess. But also in terms of everything else was risk taking as well. One of the beliefs I had is you should be risk averse. So you should play it safe, right? You should go in, you should make sure that you have your income, you're just doing everything as you're supposed to, and you just live this prescripted template of a life. Just being here and seeing how things work, how people have a freedom of expressing themselves, who they are, dressing the way they want, doing the stuff they want, right? Kind of made me confident and free in experimenting with who I am as well, and not just sticking to this persona that I was supposed to follow while growing up back home.
If you had any advice for somebody facing that similar challenge, and I kid you not, this was me too. I mean, if you're watching this and you're an immigrant, you know what I'm talking about. If you're coming from any African country, you probably know what I'm talking about. Our families have prescribed ideas of what we should do. So we come in with a bit of a risk-averse nature. We want to play it safe and, keep it small and just do the right things. What would you tell someone else in a similar stage? They've got all this bag of things they've believed coming from their home country and they're struggling with reconciling it. What would you give to them as an advice?
I would say it takes time to challenge those beliefs, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It's a scary process, especially if you're coming here by yourself and not with your family or other support group, like a social circle that you're already connected to. I'd say try to expand your social circle here. Try to find some people. They don't necessarily have to be from a completely different background. If you're coming from Nigeria, for example, this could be fellow Nigerian immigrants, or if you're coming from Azerbaijan, fellow Azeri immigrants. But try to slowly expand your social circle to involve different people with different backgrounds and different opinions. That will expand the way you think as well. You will become more open-minded slowly. It takes time. And then try to sit down and think, okay, well, now I'm here, I'm by myself, and who do I want to become? Because the path that was prescripted maybe could have worked in Azerbaijan or Nigeria, but it might not work here. And maybe I'll end up hurting myself if I just continue following that path. So it's important for any kind of belief to have an honest conversation with yourself. Be completely honest with yourself in terms of what is it that scares you of taking risk? And then think about it. Who do you want to become? And what is the path to get there? Because it's important also to be realistic. Change doesn't happen overnight. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to be compassionate with yourself because it's not going to work right away. You'll make mistakes. And it's important just to be there, realize you're kind of driving the ship that is you towards this new future, and you have to be open to whatever happens. See it as an adventure. See it as something that is you get to experience, right? It's not something that you're supposed to do. It's just life. And be open to new experiences. And don't be scared to take risks, but at the same time, try not to take unnecessary risks, especially in the beginning when you don't have your legal status, right? When you don't have your permanent residency maybe or something else, or a work visa or whatever. Make sure you know the steps required to solidify your position within the country, and then, it's all up to your imagination.
My goodness, I am taking notes so furiously, like I just landed here yesterday. This is gold. I mean, if you're watching this, I hope you're getting some value from it. I love that you were able to say, take the time to challenge those beliefs, but also take the time to have an honest conversation with yourself around what you want to become in this new country, in this new life that you have. And most importantly, you mentioned something about being compassionate with yourself as you do this process. And it struck me because most people think compassion is for the weak or for babies. But compassion is really what centers you in your own self-love and allows you to pursue those goals from a place of confidence. And this makes me think of the other point you made in the first question. You said when you came, you had some confidence that you had to work on. You had to build more of your confidence here. And I wanted to touch on that because a lot of people, when we come into a new country, we can easily feel overwhelmed. Look at everything that's been built. Everything is already done here. What do I need to do? I am nobody. But that's not you today. That's not me today. Now, can you share with our audience what strategies that you found most effective in fostering that self-confidence, that drive, that self-love?
Well, I think I will not be fully honest if I said that I mastered the self-love. It's still something I struggle with daily. It's something
Don't
that,
we all? We all do.
yeah, that's like the difficult part for me, actually. It's much easier for me to be compassionate for others than myself. And it takes time. And it also something that you need to understand in a way, at least where I'm coming from, it's not part of a culture to be self-compassionate because, I mean, if you do have a prescripted path to follow, there isn't much space for compassion. You just need to do what you're supposed to do. And for me, the realization, looking back, it's all in your head at the end of the day. You can try to go ahead and prove yourself that you can do things. For example, if you are scared of public speaking, you go in there and you try and you try and you try until you're comfortable in a certain environment. But it is also important to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. You'll go there, you'll be scared, and you'll probably be scared all the time. The only thing that you learn is being comfortable with being scared. So it's all about that at the end of the day, just proving yourself that you can do things, and that builds confidence, right? Like small wins, it accumulates, and then you realize, well, I know looking back, I've done all of these things. So whatever comes my way, you have the confidence that you will achieve it. You will be able at least to attempt it. It doesn't mean that you will succeed necessarily, but you know how to handle rejection or failure or even a success, right? So exposing yourself to things that you're uncomfortable with, because it's very easy, and I've seen people do that, where you don't want to face your fears and challenges, and what you do is you become this shell of a society from the place where you came from, and you just try to live in the same bubble. You find people who only live this way as if you never left home, and you just keep being in a circle, the same circle. You don't expose yourself to people with different opinions. And you live the same way as if you were in Azerbaijan or Nigeria, if you just continue. And the thing is, it doesn't make you grow in a way. It's not as if it's bad that you are staying this way. It's just you're not fully accepting the whole experience you have around you. You're in a completely different place. So, as I said, try to find your flows and things that you are scared of, and step by step try to face the fears. Just go in there and do the smallest thing possible. Like for me, it was the fear of public speaking. It's multiple things. First of all, a lot of people in there, and also not just that, but also my language ability. I was scared of my accent and a bunch of other stuff. And I started with the smallest possible groups, even if it's 3-4 people in a space, and you just give a little presentation. As you do, you will become more confident in your ability to present. And I'm still anxious every time I do it, regardless of the size, but at least I'm not scared of the anxiety itself. I get more comfortable with it. I know this is the process. It starts by being uncomfortable because you're about to do something. And then as you go into a flow, you become more and more confident. I think it's the same with everything else. As you come here, you're scared. I remember I was almost nauseous on the plane while coming here. Like, what am I doing? I don't know what to expect. I just seen a bunch of videos and images, and I'm coming in a completely new place. I was so scared. What if I fail? What if nothing happens? And then as you expose yourself, you go into this flow and you just continue and continue. I hope that kind of answers the question.
100%. I think one of the main pieces of what you said was get out of your comfort zone. Do it fast. Take small steps daily to get out of your comfort zone. For me, I was terrified by engaging with new people here. But I started by talking to the people I met, saying hellos, having a conversation, and realizing there was nothing, that the fear itself was just, as you said, in your mind. And nobody said it was easy. Nobody walks into it. If you want to, and this is the podcast for people who want to succeed in their journey, but if you're on that path, taking those small steps, getting out of your comfort zone, being okay with discomfort is the path to achieve self-confidence. And as we are all working on self-love, that's also a big piece for me and for you, as you said, and for everybody here, just continuing to build that muscle. I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit more tactical. So today you are a successful entrepreneur, and you have gotten the career that you want. You're financially in a place that you want to be, and on the path to achieving more. Now, a lot of us, we come with big goals, big ideas. I imagine you had the same too. How did you set a clear, focused goal that's not vague? Can you share a process of helping folks narrow down a clear goal that's achievable?
It's an interesting question because I don't think there's a simple process for that. It's kind of, you have to try and try until you find something that truly resonates with you, right? Like for me, it was trying different things, different ideas. And right now, I'm trying to build this company and I'm trying to create the future that I envision in my head. And I think that what's different today, because I also had the goals before, it's just I wasn't as motivated or as perseverant. And I guess what's different is the why, like why you're doing this, and also the belief that you will achieve it as well. For me personally, it's important for me to envision a future where it's not just about me, but the way the success I want to achieve will affect the people around me, the people I care about, and maybe people that I'll get to know in the future that I don't know about yet. And being able to have a positive impact on their lives and to bring something of value to them, that's something that definitely motivates me. And I don't think there is a particular thing or topic that necessarily needs to do that. It can be anything that you like. I think what helps is, again, having an honest conversation with yourself and listening to your inner desire in a way where every person, in my opinion, has something they're drawn to for whatever reason. And for me, it was a realization that it is almost like a higher power, not necessarily God. I'm not as religious, but for some people, it can be God. For some people, it can be something else. But at least for me, it's something that drives you forward. You can't really say why. It just does. Some people like engineering, some people like games, some people like cars, some people like traveling, etc. And you just have to listen to that inner voice. You just have to follow that path and envision the future where it's achievable, but also grand enough to stay motivated and realize, like almost envision it daily, how it feels to be there, right? How it feels to achieve it, how you're going to impact the people around you. And that keeps me motivated day to day.
I love that. Maybe our viewers were expecting a step-by-step process, but this is a more nuanced approach that can fit your needs. As he said, finding your why. I love that. Like if your goals are not connected to a reason, it's kind of hard to keep up with it. Also, believing that you can achieve it is actually very important. In fact, that, my friends, I mean, if in your head you're like, I won't get it, you probably won't do anything about it. You won't take action. And I love that your goals are around an impact, you want to make in other people's lives. That is a strong why. That keeps you going. You know, setting good goals is to break it down. For example, if one of my goals was by the time I graduate, I want to have started my first company. That's a big goal, but that's also specific. It puts a timeline to it. Now, what are the small goals around that? Well, I'm in school, so maybe take a class on entrepreneurship. That's a small step. That's a concrete step I could complete. Oh, well, there's all these clubs around people interested in building startups. Maybe check in, meet people there. That's also another goal because when you achieve these small goals, it builds up, bubbles up into the big goal. I ended up starting the company by the time I graduated. I ended up taking all the small steps to get there. But also I had a why. I knew why I wanted to do it. I had a strong reason and I believed I could do it. I kid you not. Without that, I wouldn't even have woken up in the morning on the days where it was hard. Now, I wanted to touch on your core values. Is this something you practice, aligning your goals with your core values? And if not, maybe could you share some perspective around the importance of having some core values in your personal and professional growth?
Yeah, I want to touch upon something you said, which is getting this step-by-step approach. And these steps themselves have to be easily achievable because once you do, you feel better about it, right? You feel the sense of progress, no matter how small you feel it. And it keeps you going. You feel good about yourself. I achieved something and you just keep going stacks and stacks. And then each step becomes bigger. And when you look back, you realize that you're in a completely different level, right? But it's also important to not be too tied to a specific outcome. Because I think if you focus on the impact specifically, the impact should drive you. But let's say you want to build a company in any type of industry, right? You're a student, you're building, you're getting to know people. And as you do, with new information you get and new people you meet, you might get a different idea on something else that you want to do. And I think it's important to listen to that voice, continue growing and continue keeping your vision in your head, but not being too tied to specifics. because, life is unpredictable and you just cannot control all of it.
100%. So then the core values, how do you define your core values? What's the importance of having some foundational core values as it relates to getting good goals?
I think it's a constant conversation with yourself where you kind of sit down and think about what kind of person do I want to be? What matters to me? And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen. You need to be honest with yourself and you need to listen to your feelings. For me, I would do something and I would feel either good or bad about it. And, I could just suppress the emotion and never think about it again. Or I could reflect on why I felt a certain way. Why did I feel guilty, or why did I feel anxious, or why did I feel good? And it really kind of drives the core values that you have. It is the reason you feel a certain way. So, for example, if I feel guilty about not calling back my friend, that means that I value friendship, and maybe that's not the person I want to be. So you have to listen to your feelings and listen to your desires and what you want to do, and try to build this vision of who you want to be. For me, it is someone who's honest, someone who is brave enough to say what they think and do what they think is the best in the different scenarios. Also, someone who's loving and compassionate, who can be there for someone and not selfish just to think about their own kind of benefit. And also, what I would aspire to be is a good leader as well. That's a different conversation of itself, but just trying to make sure that I say what I think and I show people a good path by my own example.
Do you see your core values sort of affecting the goals you pick in life? We all have limited time. Nobody has all the time to chase all the goals. You could be chasing a goal to become the best swimmer. Do you see a relationship between the core values that you have and the sort of goals you decide to go after?
Absolutely. An example, for example, with my company, I want to build a company where I lead by example, but also I want to build a space where people feel comfortable to share their opinion and be as truthful as they can to who they are, be able to express themselves on the work they do without feeling oppressed or guilty. There are many examples of corporations where you just have to follow a certain path. And I want to create a space where people feel comfortable and enjoy doing what they're doing. And that really drives me forward. And it's also with the goal of being able to impact people around me as well, helping people to give them some value. I don't know what that value might be. Some value by being in their life, bringing something and helping them and continuing this path forward together.
That's awesome. I love it. Connecting your core values to your goals. One of my deepest core values is love. And people ask me, why are you doing a podcast? You've got a great job. But the love I have and the type of goals I'm choosing is to give, to serve, rather than just to take, but to give and serve. And because it's connected to my core value, I'm able to wake up every morning with joy to go do it. Right. And I love that you were able to call out that you want to be a great leader. Some people don't really care about that as a value, but if that's your value, then it's going to impact the way you build your organization, the way you go out in the world, the way you take responsibility for goals, your actions. I love that you want to do the right thing. One other question I was going to ask you before we jump into the other themes are around celebrating a goal. That's something I've been struggling with. I forget to celebrate the milestones. How do you celebrate when you get a small milestone on your journey?
It's very hard. That's something I struggle with too. I'm very goal oriented. So for me, it's like I'm done, on to the next thing. But the problem with that is it doesn't give you satisfaction. And if you continue doing that and you achieve the big vision you want, it might feel empty at the end. And for me, it is taking time and really reflecting on the journey, on the people I met, the people I would have met otherwise, and also where I was in the beginning and where I am right now, and thinking about what I could have done better or what I've done well, right? Just really reflecting on the journey to kind of really highlight the fact that we achieved something and prepare myself mentally, because no matter how small the goal, it's an improvement from the previous step. And if you have this mindset that I was one step lower yesterday and now I'm here, it really can get you excited to where you can be in a year, in 10 years, if you continue this path. So I guess that's the process for me.
Awesome. I love that. I might have to copy that process. I'm going to switch gears. When you were talking about keeping your goals in mind and seeing yourself achieving them, you really struck a chord with me there, because on this podcast and this show, I'm talking about visualization, and not everybody knows about it today. But what role has visualizing your success played in your life? And what technique can you give to effectively utilize this to achieve a goal, achieve a desire?
The difference between just visualization and like visualizing something that you are confident in, because to have this practice in a successful manner, you need to really believe that you can achieve it, because I can visualize just standing on the moon right now, right? But that doesn't mean that I can achieve it. But maybe I can, I guess. But in terms of the goal, though, I think it's very important to have a deep self-confidence in the fact that you know you will achieve it. Because my personal belief is I'm very drawn to the game I'm building and the company I'm building. And I believe there is some reason for that, some internal desire. And if I really want this so bad that I went all this way, there is a path to achieve it. So I'm just following that path and I'm visualizing daily how it feels to get there. How does it smell? How does it sound? Where am I? How do I feel? And truly believing that this is not just you visualizing this day, but you are almost awaiting this day to come. Everything you're doing in between is just like a wait room, like a lobby. You're just waiting. You know you'll get there one day is really important. Because if you make yourself believe, you will make sure it happens. Maybe not from the first try, second try, third time, but if you truly believe that this is something you're destined to achieve, you will achieve it, no matter how long it takes. And I think that's the key there, right? Visualization with this confidence that this will happen. And it also doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy to build this confidence. You need to constantly tell yourself when you're doubting yourself that I will succeed. I am going there for a reason, and I know that no matter how hard it will be, I will achieve it. And I think that's the most important part. Besides visualizing the day and the feeling of the success, is repeating to yourself every time you doubt yourself that, this is just noise. I know I'm getting there, and I know that everything I'm doing has a meaning and purpose to it.
I'm like furiously taking notes like never before. I hope you're excited if you're watching this. I hope that you're getting good value out of this, because having a clear goal that you believe in, that blew my mind. Most of us daydream. It's not the same. We're not talking about daydreaming. I don't have a job yet, but I'm going to have a Ferrari tomorrow. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a concrete goal that you have a self-belief that you can achieve it. Then, when you combine all of that with the visualization element, and as Jahangir was saying, seeing the end result, feeling the feeling you will feel when the end result, imagining the room you will be in to celebrate the end result, these are the elements that take your subconscious and your conscious mind into real coherence and drives your daily actions. I am so glad that you're on this show to talk about this, because this is a powerful tool for anybody who's coming in new, who has some goal, maybe some self-doubt, some beliefs they're still working on. Those are the powerful pillars. You combine a powerful self-belief, a great goal, concrete goal you can achieve, and then you layer it up with some visual elements. You're off to the races, my friend. 90% of people don't have that belief, or they don't have the self-confidence, or they have a vague goal. But if you align all those three elements, you're on a path to something. You're on a path to that journey, and it's not going to come on day one. That statement is bringing me to maintaining energy on a daily basis. You are an entrepreneur. How do you maintain that energy, that conviction on a daily basis? Every morning you wake up, what do you do?
Having milestones, right? It's having milestones, achievable milestones that are not too far away from each other, because if it's just starting point and the end point, it's very hard to stay consistent, because then you're just hoping that you will achieve it at some point in the future. This visualization, you wake up and you know that I'm one day closer to achieving this now. One day closer, and every day it is one day closer to achieving it than it was yesterday. And really reminding yourself of why you're doing this. And now it doesn't mean that you'll be excited every time you do it, because you'll be tired, you'll feel shit happens, there's life, everything happens. So just making sure that you stay consistent as well, that no matter how tired you are, you can at least do the smallest possible thing just to continue going. It doesn't have to be big, just making sure, you are doing this for yourself and for that future. Like for me, the way I think about it is when I wake up and I'm tired, or not necessarily tired, but more like I'm doubting myself, there's a point where I lose the confidence that I was talking about. And you need to have a certain coping mechanism where you can bring yourself back to the alignment with your goal. And for me, it's imagining all of the people that I can impact in the future, and that these people in the future depend on what I'm doing today. And there's the real purpose behind every action you're doing now. Again, some might say, what if that doesn't happen? And what if you don't achieve it? It doesn't matter. It's all in your head. If you think there's purpose to your action, there is purpose to your action. So doing this every day, reminding yourself of why you're doing it and the purpose behind it, and visualizing all of the things you want to achieve, how it's going to change your life and maybe life of your children or someone else. All of these things that are possible in the future depend on you today. So every time you wake up, you just should remind yourself about it.
I'm very grateful that you're sharing all those tips today. By the way, if you're just joining, we've covered mindset mastery, goal setting, and now we're talking about visualization techniques and how important it is in achieving your goals. I want to go into one other piece on my list. Communication and relationship building. Earlier, when I was talking about your personal story, you recommended that folks watching this, so get comfortable, to get out of your comfort zone, talk to new people, expand your network. But you also talked about your own challenges in working through your public speaking skills. Now, in today's world, effectively networking and building relationships and being able to communicate your goals, your ideas, and your vision is powerful. Without that, you literally can't do anything. Could you share with us other relationship building or communication tips have contributed to your personal and professional success?
For me, I think all comes back to learning about myself, really trying to understand who I am, all the parts of myself that I don't like as well, being completely honest, because the only way to build a relationship is to be understanding and empathetic and compassionate. And to show empathy and compassion, you need to understand how another person might feel and how they might think differently from you. And all of this, for me at least, comes from practice and honest conversations, but most importantly, honest conversations with myself. Because if you cannot accept yourself for who you are, you cannot accept another person. If you cannot understand that there are parts of you that you might not like and you need to accept still, how can you really show this to another person if you're hiding your true self from yourself?
The first relationship that you build is with yourself. The first
Yeah.
communication muscle that you flex is with yourself. Communicating with yourself more, building that relationship of empathy, understanding, compassion with yourself, then allows you to bring it out to another person, which is the primary thing. I hope you guys got that. I mean, this is pure, absolute joy. Communicate with yourself first. Build a relationship of love, empathy, understanding with yourself first. I love that. We're coming to a roundup of what we've talked about. We've gone through your personal story, learned about how you built a solid mindset, the actions you take on a daily basis, your ability to set a goal and visualize that goal, and by reminding yourself you're one day closer. And finally, communicating with yourself and building a good relationship with yourself is the first prerequisite to building a relationship with another. From all we've talked about, your reflections of your personal story, if you were new in North America today, based on all the stuff you know, what else would you add on top of it?
One of the things we kind of touched upon it, we didn't emphasize it as much, is building connections with people. Getting yourself out there, talking to people. And if you're coming as a student, because, that's the only thing I can suggest as I was a student myself, is expose yourself to stuff, and not in the context of just building your confidence, but try out a class you haven't thought about. Go to club for learning entrepreneurship or history or whatever you like, and you'll find like-minded people. You will find some professors that you haven't known about, and all of these connections usually bring opportunities that you couldn't have really anticipated. It's just something that comes up. The more people you know, and it really, really helps you feel connected to the environment you're in as well. So I would say just build as much connections as you can, and do not shy away from people that don't think like you do.
This has been a mind-blowing and absolutely eye-opening thing for me. I could talk to you about this every day. Thank you so much for the time that you've dedicated to give to us, and sharing your story and giving us practical tips from what you've done. If you're watching this, you are in a new place. That gives you the foundation to build new things. Go out there and build that stuff. Trust yourself. As Jahangir said, it's in your mind. If you believe you can, you probably can. If you believe you can't, that also applies. I hope that this has given us value today and that you got a lot from it. Continue doing the good work. We're here to build something. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being here, Jahangir. I really appreciate it. Any parting goodbyes that you want to share with the audience?
Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for inviting as well, and I hope that you find something valuable in this conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you today, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.